Okay, if you're a leader, you know this feeling. You've got entry-level jobs wide open, but finding the right people feels next to impossible. And at the same time, you see the headlines about youth unemployment. So you have the jobs, they need the work. What gives? Well, this isn't just some social issue, it's a real strategic problem for your business. So let's dive into it.
What we're really talking about here is a fundamental failure in the market. There's this massive, untapped pool of young talent just sitting there, and that creates a huge risk for businesses like yours that need to be building their future talent pipeline. This is so much more than just filling a vacancy. It's about securing the next generation of your entire workforce.
And yeah, this is the big question, right? It's the one that keeps managers and HR departments tossing and turning at night. But here's the thing. The answer has less to do with the candidates themselves and a whole lot more to do with how we've been taught to look for them. It's like we're using a broken compass to find our future stars.
Now, just to put a number on this, let this sink in for a second. During a time of pretty solid economic growth in Australia, almost 22%, that's more than 1 in 5 young people, were out of work. That is a staggering amount of wasted potential that businesses were just failing to connect with. So, if the talent is actually out there, then the problem must be in our hiring process. We all rely on these traditional signals to predict who's going to be a success, but what if those signals are just fundamentally flawed? It's time we really took a hard look at the thinking behind these critical and, let's be honest, often very costly hiring decisions.
Well, it boils down to something called signaling theory. See, with someone fresh out of school, you don't have a lot of data to go on, right? So what do? We grab the easiest signals we can find. Good grades, maybe a part-time job. We use them as a shortcut, a proxy for potential. But here's the huge problem. They are often a terrible predictor of real-world success.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head, because deep down, managers know this. They know that the student who is totally switched off in a classroom could become an absolute superstar once they're in a real job, where their work actually has an impact. And yet, our hiring practices stay stubbornly chained to those old academic signals.
I mean, really think about it. What if, by focusing on grades, we're actively filtering out the very young people who have incredible resilience or creativity or that inner drive? We might be rejecting the exact candidates who have the core attributes we desperately need, all because their potential wasn't visible on a report card.
Okay, so let's get to the good part, because when researchers actually went out and asked employers what matters most, the answer just completely turns our traditional assumptions upside down. This is the big aha moment, where the data shows us what we should have been looking for all along.
So a really important study did exactly that. They went to a bunch of employers and asked them point blank what they valued most when hiring a young person. And the findings weren't just a little interesting, they basically provide a clear, data-backed mandate to change our entire recruitment strategy.
And here it is. Look at this, it couldn't be clearer. Overwhelmingly, at almost 69%, employers said they prized character attributes. We're talking about the absolute essentials: reliability, honesty, teamwork, communication. Then, at almost 50%, came work behavior and attitudes. Things like motivation, a positive outlook, and a real willingness to learn. And way down the list, job competence, the actual hard skills.
So the big takeaway is this. You hire for attitude and you train for skill. Leaders aren't looking for a finished product, they are looking for potential. They're searching for that solid foundation of good character because they know they can build all the technical skills on top of that. And that single insight, that right there, changes everything.
Okay, so if the old signals are broken and we now know we need to hire for character, how in the world do we find these high-potential young people? The answer isn't some better algorithm or a new piece of software. It's about building a real, reliable bridge between the world of education and the world of work.
And this brings us to a much more powerful idea: networking theory. So if signaling theory explained the problem, which was bad information, networking theory provides the solution. It basically says that the best way to get reliable information about a student's true character, their grit, their spirit of collaboration, is through a trusted, long-term relationship between institutions.
And hey, this isn't just some academic theory. There is a powerful, real-world model that has been perfecting this exact approach for decades. The Japanese school-to-work system is built entirely on this principle of deep institutional trust, and the results are, well, they're simply staggering.
So in Japan, companies form these deep, multi-year partnerships with specific high schools.
The schools then become a core part of the talent pipeline. They don't just recommend the students with the best grades, no. They recommend the students they know are reliable, hardworking, and ready to contribute from day one. This creates this incredibly efficient, trusted channel for talent. For businesses, that means lower recruiting costs and a totally predictable supply of motivated employees. And the final outcome? This system has achieved up to 99.5% full employment for school leavers. It's a proven, undeniable win-win.
So, how do we take these powerful lessons and actually apply them? How do we move from just understanding the problem to actively building our own talent pipelines? Let's translate all this research into a clear, strategic playbook for your own organization.
All right, here's your 3-step blueprint. First, redefine your signals internally. Shift your hiring focus away from grades and toward a real assessment of attitude, reliability, and collaborative skills. Second, become a partner in development. Actively support schools in building the emotional intelligence and communication skills you actually need. And third, and this is the most important one, build the bridge. Proactively go out and forge direct, long-term partnerships with local schools to create that trusted, efficient pipeline of high-character talent, just like in the Japanese model.
So we'll end with this question for you to think about. By clinging to outdated signals, are you just making hiring difficult for yourself today, or are you actively overlooking the next generation of loyal, driven, high-potential leaders who are going to define your company's future? The talent is right there, in your community. It's time to build the bridge to find them.